settings. All right, so what you're about to see is a scenario that we created out of a conversation I had with Jonathan Rosen. Jonathan gave me a specific problem that he feels in his association with people like you is not uncommon. And so in this particular scenario, we're watching two people who are having a Zoom meeting and they fall into a conflict. It doesn't go well. And this is an important part of the process. The initial scenario that the team sees is what I call the fiasco version. So it's demonstrating a problem. And in doing so, it allows us to say, what happened? So we're asking the team that we're serving to diagnose what happened. And then we're asking the team to give the actors notes to change their language and behavior so that a challenging or difficult situation becomes positive or at least workable in some way. And in this way, no one on the team that we're serving is improvising or is directly implicated. They're talking to the actors through me. They're having a good time because it feels like there's a play that was written just for them and about them. And they discover, and this is perhaps the most powerful piece of it, they already know how to solve this problem. They already know. So we don't actually come in saying, and now here's how you solve this problem. We allow the team to figure out how to solve this problem. Let's get right into it. Kiersten and Owen, if you can rename yourselves. Kiersten is Maybel, and Owen is, I forget, what is your character's name, Owen? Henry is Henry. Shea is going to go off screen. Shea plays an off-camera character who you will get to know. So Henry and Maybel work for a publishing company called Spectrum Publishing. Spectrum Publishing does a great deal of educational publishing for schools, textbooks, flyers, brochures, workbooks, and Henry is in charge of a particular textbook for a particular school district called The Lens of History. The problem with the textbook is when it got sent to the school district for electronic use, because of course everybody is online now, the kids couldn't open it. So they had to send it back to Spectrum Publishing and get it reformatted. Maybel is the user experience engineer who is working on reformatting this online textbook so that the school district can use it, okay? And Henry and Maybel are having a meeting to check up on where this project is. The other thing you should know is, and you'll find this out, Maybel is trying to manage her kids who are studying at home, and her husband, Dan, is an emergency room nurse, and with the rising COVID infections, he's not around a lot. So let's see how this goes.
Hi, Maybel. Yeah, where the hell are you? 1 o'clock. Okay. I am here. All right. Hello.
Hi, Henry. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Online school is a lot.
Yeah.
Teacher.
Yeah. So I just want to know how the new version of the textbook is coming along. Is it reformatted? Is it ready?
Yeah, of course. It's really close. We're almost done, but we are running into a new problem that I thought you'd like to.
Okay. What?
Just a minute, honey. Just a minute.
No, with
What?
your soda.
What?
All right. I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in a minute. Just a moment.
What?
Yeah.
What is the new problem?
Yeah. It's not a huge deal. We're almost done with the project. Everything's almost reformatted, but the textbook is about 30% larger than the original formation of the text. So it will be a little bit more expensive to produce. I just wanted to go ahead and let you know all that.
Oh my God. You know, if this had been done right the first time, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, but I wasn't really involved with the first draft of the textbook, so I could not have done anything. I'm doing my best.
Okay. And you said it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah, I have
That's bad. That is bad. I'm gonna go call Carl and see what he says, and then we're probably gonna have to call the school district. So, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if you need anything. Okay.
Oh, can you come upstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm coming, hon. I'm coming.
Okay.
Hey, Carl. Yeah. Yes, it is basically done, and it's going to be more expensive. Yeah, I know that's terrible. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that it got done wrong first time. Yeah, Carl, it is terrible. I don't know what you want me to do about it. Yeah, I will call the school district myself, and I will go get chewed out for doing this wrong. Sure. Great. Bye.
Henry, you're muted. You're muted. Your sound is off.
So I just got off the phone with Carl. We're gonna have to call the school district, who is 40% of the money we bring in is this one school district, and we're gonna have to tell them that it's gonna cost them more money, and they're gonna be mad. And I've got 4 other school districts that are also ticked at us for 5 other reasons. And I'm sitting here trying to, yep, this is gonna be a huge pain in the butt. It's gonna be a huge pain in the butt. How's Dan?
Oh, he's at the hospital right now. His hours have increased because the COVID cases are going up again. Honestly, I'm a little bit worried because we have kids and it's a lot to deal with. Because I'm home by myself and he's around all those people and he could get sick. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna take care of this. Good luck.
Can you cut this? Can you come cut this in half?
I'm coming, hun.
All right, let's all come back on camera and talk about that.
Wow.
All right. So here's what happens now. I begin by asking the client group, and for our purposes, you're the client group. What's your impression of what's happening here? What's going well? What's going wrong? And we just take some general comments. So if you have something you want to say about Henry and Maybel's interaction, just raise your hand so I can see you. Betty.
Yeah, so I felt like people could sort of preface what they're feeling and not just be in the emotion. I'm really frustrated right now. Sorry if I'm taking it out on you, or just let me vent for a couple of minutes rather than just being that emotion. I feel like that would have helped the situation.
Great. Tim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I was just distracted here by the light. Clearly, neither Maybel nor Henry are really getting the place that the other person is coming from. And there's a communication of words, but it's missing the whole sort of background that's coloring the interaction.
Excellent. Marcy.
It appeared to me that there were a lot of breaks in communication along the whole chain. So whoever Henry had dealt with previously before Maybel got it, she wasn't aware of whatever the structure was or the expectations, and so it seemed to me like there were a lot of breaks in communication as that project was moving along its production line.
Okay, cool. Lisa, did you have your hand up?
So, obviously we as an audience feel really bad for her and what she's going through, but she's also throwing a lot of her credibility away. So if she had told him why the price was going up, he's still going to be angry and he's still going to push back on her, but at least it's not going to feel like it's coming out of the blue.
So you
and
feel,
maybe
you feel like she didn't explain why it was more expensive?
Yeah, okay. Under the circumstances, she has a lot going on and he's not really listening and not really letting her speak, but she's also not helping him see the steps of the process and why it's ending up at that finish line.
Okay. Let's take a couple of more just sort of general comments. Does anybody? Yeah, Jonathan?
So obviously, they're not working together as a team. They don't say, this is a company problem and we have a client, and how can we work together to find a solution? And maybe there is a way to where it'd still be more expensive, but not as expensive, more justifiable. And but meanwhile, they're just, Henry wants to blame someone, and the fact that it's more expensive has nothing to do with Maybel's family situation with their kids and her husband. It has to do with formatting a program.
Yeah, good point. Katrina.
I really like the way this scenario used technology. I mean, I know that was planned, but just it makes it so real, and it puts in the forefront the challenges that we all are dealing with every day that we just know are part of our reality, but seeing it like this makes me think, wow, it just adds such another layer. And so thank you for including that in the scenario, and very well played and done by the participants.
Okay, one more, Sally.
Yeah, so one thing, Henry, I don't think he should have made the phone call to his manager or boss while he was still on with Maybel, because that really just was not a positive interaction for her to hear.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you caught it. There's a little detail. He actually thought that he muted himself. So when he comes back on, he hits the mute button and he starts talking, right? And she says, wait, you're muted now.
Yeah.
But still, damage has been done. Okay, yeah. These are great. These are great. I want to get into some, so here's where the sort of special sauce is. We're going to give Owen and Kiersten notes through me about changes that they can make, different language they can use, different strategies they can employ in this meeting to deal with this business problem that's real, but get to a more positive outcome. So I'm glad Katrina brought up the online thing. Part of what we're working on is helping companies work with this technology more effectively. And it's challenging. And so we're figuring it out as we go as well, but that was definitely a part of our goal. So let's start with Henry. There's always a power relationship in the scenarios that we create. Henry is the supervisor. And so he is primarily in charge of setting the table, for the success of this encounter. So I'd like you to raise your hand if you have a specific note that you want to give Henry for how he could change the way he interacts with Maybel, the way he does things. Good, Taryn.
I would suggest asking about her husband and her family first.
First? Okay, great.
Right? Sort of building the rapport, building the trust, and then going into business.
Okay, so that's going to be change number 1. Christopher.
As a leader, you're responsible for all of the people that you manage and their actions. So, you were trying to pin blame, or your character was trying to pin blame. You're saying it's not my fault. It's not my fault. At the end of the day, it is your fault. So that's first and foremost, is taking responsibility. So that's what a good leader does.
So you would prefer not to hear him say, you felt to you like he was like making it her problem, but it's actually his problem? Do I have that right?
It's not. It doesn't matter whose problem it is. The buck stops with him. He's the supervisor. It's his.
Okay, gotcha. Good, thank you. Rich.
Henry's character wasn't solutions oriented. He was just reactive. So I think there's got to be more listening and more, let's get together. How do we fix this? Versus you screwed up and now I'm going to get yelled at. So he's got to lessen the immediacy of his actions.
Rich, can you give Owen specific language? Like what should he say in order to get more solutions oriented?
Listen and understand, and then work toward a solution.
Okay, good. Chris Dutra?
It seemed as if Owen had a lot more going on than just the problem with her.
Oh yeah.
So
like 5 school districts he's trying to deal with. That's
what's throwing me. And maybe he can, ask for her help and say, hey, look, we're in a really bad place here. We've got 5 other schools that are really ticked off at us. And for me to go back to this one, who is 40% of my revenue, maybe there's some way you can help me help them.
Great. So we're going to hang on. I want to just make sure we have time to watch the replay, and then we're going to do a debrief afterwards. So Owen, I'm going to give you 3 changes. Okay. The first change is to begin with asking her how she's doing, and really listen carefully to her answer about her kids and her husband, and just see where that conversation takes the 2 of you. The second change is to avoid any tendency to lay blame about the situation. And the third change is to invite her to co-create a solution. All right. And Kiersten, I am going to give you 1 change. And this is working on Lisa's observation. Make it as clear as possible why it's more expensive. Do you know what I mean, Kiersten? Why?
Yeah, he lets me talk this time. I will totally get there.
Okay, good. So everybody can go video off, except for Owen and Kiersten, and we'll see if this gets any better.
Hey, Maybel, I'm here. So, you all right? Gotcha. All right, well, I'll be in here. Okay.
Okay, audio's connected. Sorry about that. Online school had to get them in class before I could get on.
Yeah. How are they doing? How's the family?
It's a transition. It's a lot. Dan's working a lot more, and I'm not a teacher, so this whole half in, half out school thing is a lot for me. I can't imagine what it is for them. What about you?
I'm doing all right. Just handling the ever stress of handling different districts and, you know, trying to come up with solutions for things. So
I get it. It's weird times, real weird time.
It sure is, but we will figure it out. And that's what this is. So I'm checking in. How is the textbook reformatting going?
Okay, so the reformat is actually going really, really well. We're almost done, but I did want to check in with you, let you know that the new version is coming in at about 30% larger. So it might be a little more expensive for us to produce. I wanted to let you know that before we kept going, make sure everything was all right for us to finish up that way.
Okay.
I made a volcano. Come upstairs. I made a volcano with your soda. You come up see it. It's good.
Sorry about that. I was getting called.
Like you said, online schooling is a lot.
It is, and I am not trained to teach any amount of anything. But yeah, the textbook is almost finished. I just wanted to make sure we were good to keep going if it's going to be 30% larger.
Yeah, I actually want your help on that because that is a problem, right? Okay. We're worried about this school district being upset with us for it being more expensive. So what can we do? How much more expensive?
Okay, so I have a lot of the like the sort of back end stats and whatnot, like how everything is going to be built up and the projections for what it'll be around the end. We can compare them to the old one. I don't have all of the old projections and files because I wasn't involved in the process before. So if we could compare those, I could give you an like pretty accurate number of how much more expensive. But from my end, I can only tell you how much larger it's going to be. Gotcha. And if it's larger, I'm assuming it's going to be a bit more expensive. So
okay, I have access to all that. Okay. So if I can bring that to you and we can compare and get a hard number so that I have something really specific to tell the school district and explain to them, I think that sets us in a better spot. So
yeah, that's totally fine. And ultimately 30%, as far as the formation goes, it's not that much bigger. It's not huge, it's not tiny, but it will be a meaningful amount. And as long as it works for the kids, I feel like they'll be willing to make a little wiggle room. It's a new thing for all of us.
Okay, I'm gonna, we're not really at the end, but I'm gonna actually say scene, like we do in improv, scene. And invite everybody back so we can debrief about how that went. And what the whether you felt like the actors actually took your notes and made the changes, and what it makes you reflect on in terms of managing stress in a Zoom meeting. So anyone have thoughts about how that went and what it brings up for you as a business person?
Henry's demeanor was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
He smiled. He didn't roll his eyes in anger that when Maybel was hearing the kids and whatever. And just that alone lowered the tension of the whole interchange. And Maybel just responded in a whole different way, even not being aware that she was responding in a resistive, holding herself back the first time. And it was just a whole better interchange.
Good. Owen, did you want to say something?
Just on that, I think the lack of irritation around being interrupted by kids came as a direct result of having heard, hey, I'm dealing with this thing. It's a pain in the butt. It was immediately primed me to be like, oh yeah, we're going to get interrupted. You know, of course, because this is hard. Yeah. So that, how are you? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Also too, I felt like that Henry's tone was so much better. It had more caring in it. And so I think our tone of voice, even how we modulate, I think can help with, when we're dealing with stressful situations. So, but that I found much more soothing the way he spoke with her. He was speaking to her as a person and not as the sort of thing that he's annoyed at or taking out on her.
Other thoughts?
I also thought, to Lisa's point about more information, we learned that Maybel had not even been in the process before, and how powerful now to suddenly go, oh my gosh, right? She didn't even know what it cost before. She only knows what she's doing now, something like that. There was more information suddenly that to me helped.
Yep. Good, Tim.
And I think, you know, again, it was, you know, giving Maybel that opening to kind of download what was going on with her at the moment that sort of opened up this ability to understand each other. And so often that happens on voice calls or particularly Zoom calls, you know, unless you give each other an opportunity to do that. I mean, in person, you can kind of see, you know, see them walk into the room and so forth. So anyway, it was nicely done. And I think it changed the tone of the whole conversation.
Good. So yes, Rich.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I felt the first go around, everybody was just at the surface and there was no depth to the conversation. There was depth to the conversation because they asked questions, there were emotions shared, and then there was understanding as they dug a little bit deeper.
So I want to ask everybody to do something that may be a little corny. I want you to answer this question, okay, based on the work that we've done. The moral of the story is, and I'm inviting you to finish that sentence based on this work.
Listen first.
Teamwork.
Sensitivity. Sensitivity and empathy matters.
Passion.
Yes. Yeah, mindset manners. Mindset going into the conversation.
Listen, understand, solve.
Remember humanity.
Remember your nonverbal language.
People need to be shown how to do things often.
Great.
Say there's a lot of great additions in the chat.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Just from the chat, we have being more human in your interactions, explain your role in the process, not just the problem itself. Compassion, listening, you get more with sugar than salt. Teamwork, get everyone on board. You get more with sugar than vinegar. Just throwing that in there. Thanks.
And demonstrating
not
is a lot more effective than telling.
So I hope everyone's gotten a flavor of the scenario-based process that we use. We have found it to be really dynamic, and you know, we all need a laboratory, I believe, to work on human relationships. And in a business context, that laboratory is usually missing or lacking, or it's substandard in some way. So I believe that creative corporate training provides that laboratory to actually work on human relationships in a professional context. One thing I want to bring up that we actually didn't even get into is that Owen is male and Kiersten is female. Owen is white and Kiersten is black. And so our work also has the potential to lift up those issues as well if the client wants them to get lifted up. And then we begin a conversation about, okay, so let's get really specific about where we're going with that aspect of it. Yeah, Chris, or were you just waving goodbye?
I have to run. But this was great. Thanks, everybody. Nice to meet. Bye-bye.
Any questions about the overall approach, about the process? Anyone want to ask, or reflections? Yeah, Taryn.
I find this very powerful. And the reason why it's powerful is it allows people to remove themselves a little bit and to be onlookers, which is a much easier way to self-reflect, I think, is it doesn't feel as personal, you know? So this was very creative. I really see tremendous value of doing this in corporate and business training. Yeah, it's very good stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Great.